In this video, I'm going to go over some of the new drum features of the Engine operating system. Specifically, now we have 16 drum instruments, up from 8 instruments per drum pattern. We also have 3 levels of velocity, which before we had just 2 levels with unaccented and accented notes. So to begin with, let's look at how you select the drum instruments. So I'm going to be using track 5, which has a drum pattern on it, and it's controlling a Roland TR-8 drum machine. So to select drum instruments within the pattern, use the drum select button. If we hold that button down, you can use the 8 buttons on the mini keyboard to select from 8 drum instruments. So for example, you can hear these instruments. If the sequencer is not playing, when you select the instrument, it will send out a note so that you can hear the instrument you've selected. And now you can use the backwards and forwards buttons to move between a second bank of drum instruments. So I'm going to click the forwards button, and now we're in the second bank of 8 instruments. So you can hear those instruments. Because the TR-8 only has 12 instruments, we're not going to be using all 16 drum sounds. So now if we look at the note mapping for the drum instruments, we can go into function mode and look at drum learn. And now we can see on the display the MIDI note number assigned to the selected drum instrument. So if we select the instrument here, we can see it change the note number assigned to that instrument. You can change the note by either using the backwards or forwards buttons, the control knob, or if you have an external controller sending MIDI notes, when you're in drum learn mode, it's going to remember the incoming note and assign it to the instrument. So if you want to change that, for example, we can hear now this is the bass drum instrument. And again, if you want to select the second bank of instruments, you can use the drum select button and the backwards and forwards buttons to select between the 2 banks. So now let's start the sequencer and program a quick pattern. So with the sequencer running, I can select the drum instrument. In this case, I'm going to use bank 1, the second instrument, which in this case is the bass drum. So to enter an instrument step in grid programming, you can click the button on the pattern steps. If you click it once, you get an unaccented note. If you double click the button, you'll get an accented note. So you can hear that. You can also hold the step down, and then on the display it's going to show you the current velocity for that drum step. And now, since we have 3 different velocity levels, you can either use control knob 1 to select between those 3 different levels, so velocity 40, 63, and 127, or you can use the accent button to cycle between those 3 different velocities. So let's go ahead and program the kick drum. Now I'm going to select the rim shot, so I'm going to go to bank 2 and stay on instrument 2, which in this case now is the rim shot. And I've also got some shuffle applied to this particular pattern, so you can hear that in the rim shots. Now to change the velocities, I'm going to hold the step down, use the accent button, Now let's go back to bank 1 and the snare drum. Open hats. Closed hats. And you can do that for all 16 of the drum instruments. You can also record from an external MIDI controller, and the incoming velocity of the notes from the controller are going to be mapped to the nearest velocity for the drum step for all 16 drum instruments. So those are some of the new capabilities of the drum type pattern.